and things were thrown out that the town couldn't because there was state aid that was used on these roads and everything. And if you remember 2 weeks ago, Mr. Sessler, in your email, stated that he doesn't remember anything like that happening a few years ago, and I don't even know if he was brought in. But there was a public hearing, a bunch came in during public input, complained about the posting of the roads to 6 tons, because each road had 6-ton limits on them year round. Old Wolfboro Hill Road had it, Stockbridge Corner Road, Powder Mill Road had it. One was because the tractor trailers were coming down on the short section of Old Wolfboro Road around the corner and going out on Main Street. So the selectmen at that time felt that they ought to just unpost all the roads. So once they did that, the traffic picked up again. And there is a concern, because there's state roads all around those town roads. And these aren't just country roads anymore, they're neighborhood roads.
Right.
Because they've been more and more developed. They're not like they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where you only have a few houses living on them. They're densely packed, and now you got kids on them. I would say maybe possibly a more patrol presence would be good. As Chief said in his comments, speed is a factor. Speed is only good as when they're out there.
Right here on Main Street.
And they can't be everywhere at once. It's a shame. A lot of them, I feel, cut across Valley Road in New Durham and miss the DOT that sits at the traffic circle. Also, Google, when you Google it, or new drivers that are coming through don't know the area, that shows the shortest route to go. I know Ken has been in contact with the road agent in New Durham. Liz sent a letter to the town administrator about posting on the New Durham side, because if we post Stockbridge Corner Road from the New Durham side, you don't know that it would be posted on Alton side until you get halfway down the road and there's no place to turn around. So they're talking to New Durham to see if they'll post their end of the Valley Road there, so the trucks will at least wear if they come up that way. I think it's something we need to look at.
I know if you go down Wolfboro Road down to what they call the chute, down the end towards East Alton Store, you'll see where the trucks have pretty well stove that pavement right in where the tires are. Because, I mean, a lot of trucks go through in a day.
Oh, yeah. Our roads aren't built the way as the state roads are. If they did, we wouldn't be able to get the mileage done that we do. And our roads are very narrow, so a lot of the wider trucks do ride the edge of the shoulders, which break them down. So I'd like to see us bring this up for an agenda item, discuss it, and have the road agent, police chief, and fire chief, because they have to respond anytime there's an accident out there, to see what their recommendations are for certain roads.
Great.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's something you can handle first?
Yep.
Thank you. And would you let the folks know that have written the letter that we will be meeting on this, just to let them know that we haven't forgotten them, that we will be bringing it up at a future meeting.
You're talking just about the trucking, not the speed.
So the speed too. We can post the speed limits, but to lower it below what was designed for, which I think the police chief stated in his letter, 30 miles an hour for Stockbridge Corner Road, 30 miles an hour for Route 11B, which many of you don't remember because you didn't live here, but as a kid, Virgil might remember, Route 11D, when it was Route 11, was designed for 40 miles an hour, such as 11A is. But to lower the speed limit from the average class 5 roads, I think the state minimum and maximum minimum is 25 miles an hour. Below that, there has to be a safety study done on it. If I remember right, and I'm recalling back when Tom Minswell was police chief here and I was a selectman. So if we want it below 25, because it's like my road, Jesus Valley Road is rated for 25. There's places you can't get 2 cars past it at 25 miles an hour. So there's some roads that really should be lowered down from 25 to say 15 to 20.
New Durham Road's 25 from New Durham to the circle.
Yes.
And nobody does it except me. I know because I have quite a line behind me to get to the circle.
Old New Durham Road.
Same thing.
Old New Durham Road is 30 miles an hour, I believe, 25. So I think it's something we need to look at, different roads, and possibly change them back to 25 miles an hour. And then it's enforcement, as the chief said. It's enforcement. You can be out there for 3 days patrolling pretty heavy or sitting there. But once they know you're gone, you have to
That's the speed. That's the problem you got. They don't want to travel because the road's so bad coming out by the fish hatchery. going out to the Durham, the road gets rough through there.
Yeah.
So, and part of Mill is all brand new, Wolfboro Road's fairly good, you know?
Right.
So anyways, bring up a future meeting. We'll sit down with the department heads, the chief, the fire chief, and the highway agent, and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Next one, we'll move on to new business. Number one, like I said, had been scratched. And number two is the master plan committee, master plan discussion. We have planning board members on the phone.
Yes.
And do we know who we're speaking to tonight?
Rob Regan, Tom Hoops, Russ Wilder, and Jessica Call.
Hello.
So Jessica, are you there? Who's gonna be talking for the group? Yes.
Probably Jessica.
Jessica, are you there? You're scratchy. You need to unmute yourself if you could, Jessica. Are you with me now?
Downstairs, if you want to come up, if she is down.
Jessica, would you like to come upstairs?
Oh, I think I'm finally unmuted.
You are. So,
Okay,
well,
excellent.
welcome to our meeting tonight. Which member of the planning board is going to be speaking to us so we don't have 3 or 4 of us speaking?
That would be Bob Regan.
Okay.
Okay, you can hear me now. Good. We had our first meeting on October 7th, and the planning board members on the committee are Russ Wilder, Tom Hoops, and myself. We decided to meet every 3 weeks. Our next meeting is October 28th. The purpose of the master plan is to align the town's vision, zoning ordinances, and areas of focus and activity. Our mission is to organize, promote, and develop a new or updated plan to serve as a guide for the planning board, its committees, and the zoning board of adjustment. The plan should cover town goals for 10 years and be ready by January 2022. We view that as an ambitious goal, but it's a good place to start. A better schedule will be established once the consultant is on board. The consultant, the main thing that we're looking for the consultant to do is to set us up with a master planning process, identify town demographics, and engage the community. Last year's warrant article of $25,000 has been approved. Our RFP, we expect to issue by the end of this year. Now, the committee is using 3 sample RFPs as reference: a small town, a rural town, and a town and tourist/vacation community. And we've selected Goffstown, Enfield, and Wolfboro as our templates. One issue that we identified as a result of the working from home changes we are seeing, there will likely be some changes in how the town develops going forward. The Master Plan Committee believes that it cannot succeed without full participation of the Select Board. Thus, we are requesting that a member of the Board of Selectmen join the Master Planning Committee. And that's it.
And how many is on your committee right now, Bob?
There are 3 members of the Planning Board, Russ Wilder, Tom Hoops, and myself.
Okay. So there should be at least 2 new, if you're requesting 1 board member, I would suggest 2 board members, only because so you have an odd number, so when you have a vote, you don't end up with a tie vote. Or you get a member from public at large. That would be my recommendation.
Mine is they should have a ZBA guy on there.
Or somebody from the ZBA. Has that been talked about at all?
I think a
Select board
member,
member
Yeah,
and.
one at a time, guys.
I think a member at large is important.
So this
I think-
go ahead, Jessica.
I think that sounds reasonable to have a member at large, and a selectman along with the 3 planning board members. I think, having a selectman that's already not on the planning board, would be helpful.
But you
So
don't want
maybe
me
what-
on
you
there,
know.
huh?
I like you, Virgil, but it complicates things having 4 board members.
Okay,
We
I
have
no
to
problem.
document everything that we said.
Can I ask him a question, Ruben?
Yeah, go ahead, Virgil.
Bob, how did you, pick the 3 towns you picked?
I'm sorry, you broke up on me.
How did you pick the 3 towns you picked? The Goffstown, Wolfboro, and.
Oh,
Come on.
if I heard you right, Jessica was able to get her hands on quite a number of RFPs for planning consultants, and out of the bunch that she identified, we chose those 3.
So it's out of the consultants that did their master plan?
That would be a consultant. I'm sorry, what was the question?
You picked it out of those 3 because you like the consultants that did their master plan?
No, it
No,
wasn't.
these were RFPs that the various towns submitted to get a consultant. We're using these as templates to work up our own RFP.
Yeah, and I would have to say that those RFPs look like they were well done and they were comprehensive, and they did represent the kind of towns, a tourist town, small town, rural town, and it looked like they were well done, so.
Well, I could see Wolfboro and Enfield being a tourist town. I just don't understand Goffstown, where it's a suburb of Manchester. But I can understand you're just using the RFPs the way they put the RFPs together. That's the only link that you have to that, correct?
That's right.
Right, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. It's not that you're associating the town of Alton with somebody like Goffstown or Enfield or something like that. It's the way the RFP was
No.
written.
No, not at all.
Okay, that makes a little more sense then.
Yeah.
To me anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I have no problem with that. I guess we'll put this on to the board to see who would like to serve on the master plan. Once we have a ZBA member that sits on the Board of Selectmen also, so we want to make sure that, there's 5 members on the ZBA, correct, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. So I will ask the board which one of them would be interested in serving on the master plan.
Not me, she already said I can't go on. She already asked me.
I'm actually in the same category as you are, as I'm already on Zach.
No, if I go on, that's 4 planning board members. I said that,
There'd be a quorum.
right.
I mean, I think Paul's the one to represent the ZBA.
Yeah. Yeah, he's clever.
And
He's- Yeah,
I can do
I
it.
mean, it's up to you if you want it.
it's up to you if you want another few meetings, but
How many meetings have you had already? Just one?
Yeah,
We've had one. Initially, we're planning to meet every 3 weeks. In all likelihood, once we get rolling, the frequency will go to either every 2 weeks or once a week.
and you gotta remember, this is until 2022.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else you folks would like to add? And then we will get back to you on a representative. And Jessica, I take it you'll take care of the member at large
Yes, I'll work on something for that.
and bring it back to your committee there?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you gonna put, like, some public in this too? Public people and make, what do I want to say? Different members out of the public to come in as not compliance, but, for information on it.
I think that will be later on down the line. I think right now what our main focus is to just gather a committee in order to get our master plan consultant on board and then consult with our consultant to see, you know, what's best with getting more people on board and maybe, you know, subcommittees together. Yep.
The main thing that we're looking for the consultant to supply us with is a process. And the big goal of the process is to get good public participation. The town of Wolfboro, when they did their plan, they had 70, that's 70, town citizens participate actively in developing the plan. If we could get anywhere near that, that would be nothing short of.
Good luck.
I don't know.
That's,
That's what we said.
yeah.
All right, so is there any of you gentlemen here that would be willing to serve on the master plan committee?
I might be interested, but I'd have to know when the meetings are, and I didn't bring my calendar tonight to talk about, like, when the next meeting happens.
I think it's an important step, the master plan.
Oh, it is. It's very important.
It's really important.
So I guess, Jessica and Bob, let us get back to you on who the acting member of the select board will be on your committee. If Jessica, if you could get with Phil to figure out from the committee as it stands now, what nights they possibly would be. Phil would be interested in attending, but it depends on his work schedule.
Okay, I have just one question. Considering Phil Whitman is the alternate for Virgil as for the planning board, would that be a conflict, and would that create a quorum, even if he's an alternate?
Not if, the only time I think it would be a conflict if he was sitting as a member of the planning board, because right now he's an alternate, but he doesn't have a vote on there unless he's sitting at the planning board table, appointed by the board of selectmen. I don't know, Liz would have to get that answer for us.
Yeah, I will. I tend to lean that way though, but I will.
Okay.
Okay, I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Nope, that's fine. I'm glad you did. Mr. Rochelle.
Jessica, this is Paul.
Yes. Hi, Paul.
How many ZAC meetings are left? 2? 3?
Let's see, we have one next week. So 1, 2, maybe 3 meetings left.
That's what.
A fourth meeting if we needed it, but we might not. So at least 3, I'd say.
Okay. When is your next scheduled meeting for the master plan?
It is Wednesday, October 28th.
I always bring my calendar, but I didn't tonight.
Are you also interested in 2 selectmen or 1?
2 would be better. As I said earlier, we think that the select board has to be extremely active in the development of the plan.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with 2 selectmen.
I think Virgil mentioned to me a while back, there's an old master plan, it's about a paragraph or something, you said?
No, there's old master plan, but we haven't done it in years.
Yeah. I'd kind of like to see the latest one, whatever it was. I don't know about the rest of the board members, but.
You're gonna have that out, ain't you, Jess? The old one too?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna have the old master plan with you on these meetings, right?
Right.
Okay.
I don't mind jumping in on being a member of the committee as a representative of the selectmen. As you already know, I'm on the zoning board, as you know. I don't know if you'd be interested in having someone like Paul Manzioni or who is an attorney. I don't know if that would be something of his expertise. Have you considered that, or does that matter?
No, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think he would be good too.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, finish.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you stepping up for the position?
Well, I can, but I was thinking,
Kinda just did.
I was kind of thinking of Paul Montioni
pull them in.
Well, no, for the Board of Selectmen.
for the Board of Selectmen. Yes, because they're gonna need one more from the zoning board as well, so I think that's a good idea.
And one member at large, that would give them 5 members to the,
Mhm.
no, no, that would give them 6. So that would be an even number, and you don't want an even number on a board.
Right. Another consideration would be Tom Lee. But yeah, as a selectman, I'll step up.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome, thank you.
I
Okay,
mean,
gentlemen,
Phil, sorry.
entertain a motion to have Paul Rochelle represent the Board of Selectmen on the Master Plan Committee. Do I have a second?
So move.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve Paul Rochelle as a representative for the Board of Selectmen for the Master Plan Committee, second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion?
Are they gonna want an alternate?
If they want an alternate, you stepping up for an alternate?
I'd be the alternate.
Okay, we can just appoint that, that's fine. Any other discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Ms. Wentworth, yes. Ms. Rochelle, you gonna abstain? Or vote?
Okay.
4, 1 abstention. Mr. Rochelle will be your, selectman's representative, and Mr. Whitman has asked to be the alternate. And does the consensus of the board approve Mr. Whitman being the alternate? Virgil?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with your project.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good night.
Yes, sir, you too. Okay, gentlemen, moving on to number 3, which would be fire department ladder truck funding. The fire chief is here, Chief Bodine's here. I'll step up and ask for you. You got in your packet. He has not received any information on the funding for the ladder truck. And as you remember, last year, town supported acquiring $100,000 from unassigned fund balance along with $250,000 from the equipment capital reserve for a total of $350,000 matching funds. This money was only to be taken if the grant was rewarded, which it was not. He is proposing this year a warrant article that totals $500,000 for the purchase of an adequate used aerial device. I would like to see the same $350,000 as last year, with the remaining $150,000 coming from taxes. There's no question that there's a need for the ladder truck to be replaced. Purchasing the right used apparatus will get us back on track, only cost taxpayers $150,000. Well, and really, it will cost the taxpayers $150 because money will still have to be raised or has been raised by taxes. I've read your letter since last week, read it a couple of times. I don't want to buy used again.
Okay.
I'd like to see us take 2 more years, or if we had to, 3 years, raise the money, get the $1 million, and buy a new ladder truck. Only because every time we buy something used, the last 2 we've had, because they're not used every day, they sit a lot.
That's part of it.
And we go to use them, we go to replace parts, then it just costs more money because we can't find the parts. Then all of a sudden, next thing it's down, it's been red flagged. At least the new one, we get this town 15, 20 years, I would at least assume, if not 30.
A new one will go 20 years. There's no question about that. If we go with a used one, we're going with a used one that'll last 10 years.
We're lucky.
Well, that would be the plan. The plan is 10 years, but we gotta start saving money. There's just no money in capital reserve to be put towards this truck yet. And it's been sitting there, and it's just been forgotten about for so many years. But,
The only reason I say new, you're talking about $850 for a used one, $200,000 more if we can get it for $1 million now.
talking 500,000 for a used one.
$500,000. Well, the way I read your letter, it was one.
Yeah, 500,000.
It was a total of 500,000, taking the 350,000 and adding 152.
Mm-hmm.
500,000 for a used truck to push us through the 10 years.
He wants to take the 350.
So I was still taking the $100,000 that you were going to take out of the equipment reserve. That's where it was getting me up to that number. I would still rather see us, I just can't keep buying a used ladder truck, because there's a reason the cities, if you find a good used,
They get rid of it.
getting rid of it. Because of age, because of usage.
So there's a couple options out there as far as that goes. There are some trucks out there that have been purchased and the towns have decided not to fund them anymore. So there are some trucks out there that are about 5 years old they're going for a little bit higher price. They're going for like the $500,000 to $600,000 range. There's some trucks out there right now that are about 10 years old, and that's half of its service life, that are somewhere in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. I can't tell you what kind of warranties that comes with. Probably maybe 1 year at the most. There are different options out there. There's also an option, you can spend, you go on the website to start looking at these trucks, they range from like $60,000 to $1 million, depending on what they have and how old they are and what they have for hours. We literally could go into a truck out of capital reserve tomorrow that would last us 5 to 7 years. I'm finding something that would last us 10 years. And during that 10 years, truly put the money in capital reserve to replace it in 10 years with a 20-year truck.
How much is the new truck?
Currently, it's 1.1 million. In 2 years, it'll probably be 1.2 to 1.3.
Price.
The inflation on this type of equipment has just skyrocketed. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's like.
Chief, do you have something that caught your eye, that you're kind of pointing towards or looking at, that you saw, that you?
Nothing, I mean, there's nothing that I would definitely say, yep, this is the truck. I mean, we've looked at a few things, but we haven't gotten into the talks with the dealers yet. And the reason we haven't actually talked to the dealers yet is we don't have a dollar figure to play with or to talk to them about.
Right.
As far as this stuff goes, the better the vehicle is, the shorter time it's available. The stuff sells fast. Some of the stuff is a matter of timing. There were some good deals out there. Recently, Barnstead got a very good deal on a 2015 Baker aerial device that happened to just be sitting there. They found it at the right time.
What was the good deal?
It was about $250,000 for this truck, and it's a custom built truck for the town that had it, and they had it for 5 years and decided they were no longer going to be able to support it.
How'd you miss that one?
That's under our 350 mark.
Yeah, well, then the Baker aerial is a specialty vehicle in a way. It's an aerial device, but it's definitely a specialty vehicle that works a little bit differently than what we're looking for.
I see.
A straight ladder, just a stick. That one's a tower with a bucket.
Okay.
You know, it's $1 million piece of equipment that they happen to just get a really good deal on because they happen to be in the right place at the right time with money in hand ready to go.
Right.
I can't say that we'd find a deal like that.
If,
But they're out there.
if you went to buy a used one, how would we know what we're buying?
So sometimes we have to trust our dealers. I wouldn't just go buy one from a town or there's dealers out there that deal in used fire trucks. Plus, the E1 dealer that we use on a regular basis that has sold us most of the vehicles that we have now, they do some wheeling in the used fire truck business. Some larger communities actually lease trucks for a short period of time and just send them back into the new one. They don't necessarily go full custom on their vehicles. So that's a maintenance thing for them. They'll have them for 5 to 10 year leases, and they send them back and they go new every 5 to 10 years. You know, there is the fact that when you buy used, you may be getting somebody else's tech. I'm not going to say that that's not a thing, but
it is definitely a thing.
Yeah, you know, the company's going to go through the truck and they're going to make sure they're not selling you a piece of junk. Especially somebody that we've gone back to and, you know, wants our business again anyways.
I look at specialty vehicles like this, if somebody's getting rid of it for a reason. Usually, if the town decides this is not working out for us, there's either been repairs, there's been something wrong with it or something. In some cases, I'm sure it's that the equipment is just not what they needed. They wanted to have something a little bit better or something different.
Right.
I'm sure that's a thing.
That's the thing. Sometimes it's staffing. There's been a lot of layoffs, and a lot of communities have just let staffing go. They don't have the ability to staff the apparatus.
You know, another issue is, of course, this has been hashed over for years in this town.
Yes.
And I haven't, the only thing I know is what I've read in the newspapers, basically. But I think in Alton, this is not a heavily used piece of apparatus, am I right or wrong?
So you gotta understand, there's more than 40 buildings in town that are overflow storage tall. So there is the potential for use,
40 buildings.
over 40 buildings.
I understand
So
the
as part of the
potential.
grant, we had to go
Yeah.
and count the buildings, and we had to have at least 40, so we counted to like 45, and then we just stopped writing addresses down. We didn't realize how many there really were until you start looking for them, they're there. And it's the reach, and it's the elevated string. So, you know, everything we do is to be ready for what we may have to do. As far as building fires go, it's used 3 to 4 times a year in building fire. Yes. But there's other things that it does. It has equipment on it that, you know, works with rescues and things like that, extrication. There is use of the truck besides just an elevated platform or elevated stream or the ladder itself as a fire.
How often with a ladder truck like that is used to assist other towns?
Since I've been here, it's been out of service, so I can't answer that. Pat is actually on the phone, he may be able to answer that, he's been here longer, Captain O'Brien, if you wanna bring him on, that's up to you. As far as other towns, I mean, since ours has been out of service and we put New Durham in, we've had New Durham come here probably about 20 times so far,
In how long?
in about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Now, not all those are building fires, those are calls that could be a building fire and turn out to be, you know, a smoke scare or a false alarm and things like that, so they get turned around.
But if you had your own ladder truck, that would have responded.
Theirs wouldn't have come, and we'd actually be getting an engine from them instead.
Right.
The other thing, Chief, years ago, that when there was a car accident, rollover or down the embankment, the ladder truck normally would respond on those calls for the aerial, in case it was needed or something like that. Like I said, I have no problem with the ladder truck. I think it's an apparatus needed. We're gonna spend $500,000 for something used to get us 10 years. You're already requesting the $350,000 to bring up to $500,000. Do what we did last year. $100,000 for the unassigned fund balance, $250,000 from the equipment capital reserve. In 3 years, you'd have to put away around $366,000 to get you $1.1 million. So if we raise that up a little bit, you get a new truck within 3 years, hopefully, if the townspeople go for it. As we know, 2 years ago, the townspeople voted it down unanimously. I can't remember what the spread was, but it was overwhelmingly, they said no. I just don't like and I think that's what's happened. The town they got burnt twice now with used ladder trucks. And then we end up putting money into them, then a year later, we just put them right out of service altogether. So my feeling is, we try what we can for grants, and we keep putting money away, even if we have to make a special warrant article for a ladder truck, versus having an equipment reserve. Ask the people this year if we can transfer $250,000 from the equipment capital reserve and $100,000 from the unassigned fund balance, okay, along with $150,000 to be put in a capital reserve fund for new fire truck. That would be $350,000. That'd be $500,000 this year. We're halfway to that goal. In the next 2 years, we put away the 3.66. That would get us to the $1.2 million. At least that would be my feeling, and I can support that 100%. I just don't know if I can support a used ladder truck.
I'd rather see it myself, because you're not getting no headaches.
I would too. It's just the time in between.
Right. And then in the meantime, the next few years, maybe something else will come up for a grant.
Yeah, so I'm going to put in for the grant again.
Yeah.
Just gonna ask that. One thing, we don't know exactly what kicked us out of the grant. We don't have that answer.
Will they tell us that?
They will.
They will.
But, so we haven't gotten the true official word. We know that all the money has been given out. We didn't get a letter saying we got it. We know the fire academy ended up getting an aerial device. So it would be very unusual for two to be given to the same state. So everything points to, we just aren't getting it. They have to wait for everybody to accept their money before they give us the letter saying that we're not getting it, in case somehow there's an extra $750,000 laying around there that they decide to give us because we're the first runner up.
All right, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
This is where my knowledge isn't going to come into great. But I would think that if you had a community that was in need of an aerial truck, that they get more presidents over an academy only because the academy could choose from the surrounding towns to come down and have training up from surrounding towns.
I can't.
I know you can't answer that. To me, as
Makes sense.
a layman, I would sit there and say, let's give it to the communities, have the fire academies contact the communities, bring their trucks in, so we can have training on different aerials, so different students can get used to different equipment. But that's my opinion.
It's all about people served. So that one at the fire academy technically serves every citizen of the state.
Okay.
What good's it do to get trained down there if the towns don't have them?
That's it, but that's maybe that's where it comes to us, contact Shaheen's office, Custer's office, Papa's office, and, Massey Hagan's office and say, doesn't really make much sense. What can you do for us?
I agree, we should send a letter.
Okay. Want to draft us a letter, Madam Administrator? That's the way I'll go with you, Chief, putting some away. In the meantime, if the grant comes up, we already got to have some money put towards it, maybe we don't have to ask for that much.
So the same grant's gonna come up again, it comes up every year, and we can absolutely put in for it, and we'll do that. One of the things that may have hurt us is having a $350,000 match and not having a higher match. That may end up being a factor.
Well, this way here, we have a $500,000
I
match.
know that the fire academies was about $450,000.
But if we do like Ruben said, we're gonna have the 500,000, we can almost do 500,000 next year.
Well, this year we're doing it because the unassigned fund balance.
Right.
Plus he's taken money out of his equipment reserve fund and only asked for $150,000. I give us $500,000. We could try the same thing next year.
But
But he won't have an additional $300,000 next year to take out of his equipment reserve because he'll be looking at other equipment. So at least this year, get us the $500,000.
we've already taken out of the assigned fund balance, that's set aside already.
Well, no, we lose it at the end of the year.
Sign that again?
Can't assign, that was by town meeting vote, and it said it would expire at the end of the year if this grant was not approved.
I didn't realize it.
So we'd have to ask for it again. I'm asking for that to be taken out, put into a capital reserve, ladder truck capital reserve account, so that money stays there, can only be used on the aerial truck. So if you get the grant, then you'd have the $500,000 to go along, possibly with another $500,000. And if not, we ask for $250 next year. That would give us the $750, applies for the grant again, if we get it. Then we get the ladder truck for 1.1, 1.2 million.
I think that'd be a better sell to the townspeople too, I think.
Does that sound to you?
Yeah,
I feel better getting a new one.
I mean, you
Well, I think we all-
have less headaches for it.
Yeah.
Unless you see something comes down the road that's only 2 years old and there's been no problems, but the city decides not to fund it anymore.
Right. Something like that, it's just gonna be a matter of jumping on it and, without killing our capital reserve, we're not gonna have money. So, but we'll obviously keep our eye out if there's something there.
And possibly any other grants, and maybe we'll get a letter to Shaheen and Maggie Hassan and Pappas and Custer.
Asking them exactly to do.
What? To look out for our interests. Even though that grant was given to the fire academy because it serves all the citizens, it really doesn't serve anything but a school for training purposes.
So the place that you're applying to, is that is that state or federal fund? Oh, FEMA. Oh, okay, all right, no problem.
Okay, and this way here, he's stating that it basically serves the people of the state of New Hampshire. It does for educational purposes, but there's so many surrounding communities that have aerial trucks. The academy would contact the communities. Then the students can learn better because they'd have different apparatuses to learn on versus just one.
Does no good to train them down there if the communities ain't got ladder trucks.
Yeah. At least that would be my fight.
Okay, yep.
Sound good?
The other thing that came, there's recently money available from the Volkswagen grants, for clean diesel.
Volkswagen ladder truck?
So Volkswagen had that diesel emissions deal, and they were forced to give states a bunch of money, and there may be some money available for older diesel vehicles that need to be replaced with cleaner diesel engines, so.
How much money?
I don't know yet. It's something that has just started to come up, so we're gonna look at that as well. And if that may fund a partial portion, or maybe that could fund the matching grants the match for the federal grant. So you just have to keep an eye out and see what it does. So, all right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Chief.
great night.
Thank you very much.
Might work out like you wanted, but.
I'm really looking for your direction, is really what we're looking for.
Well, it sounded like the direction was from the board that we would like to see basically a new truck, not a, it'll have to be 2 years. If we can hold out that long.
Something like that that's gonna sit a lot like that, it really needs to come in new and get the full, benefit out of the vehicle for the full length of time that we can,
In a warranty.
and a nice warranty.
Well, naturally, I'm 59 years old and I hate to stand up 10 more years, ask for another ladder truck, whereas 29, I'll be 79 years old. And it really won't matter then. Thank you, Chief.
Have a good night.
You too.
Have a good night.
Have a good one, Chief. We're gonna move on to Solid Waste Department, 2021 landfill compliance service contract, and I do wanna say, Captain O'Brien, it's not that we didn't want to hear from you, but we had the chief here, so hopefully next time we will entertain you, but thank you for attending tonight. Solid Waste Center Department 2021 landfill compliance service contract. This is an annual contract, gentlemen. There's been no changes to the contract. Nope. And John Kibitsi is here if you have any questions. This contract keeps us in compliance with all the state regulations from DES and Clean Water Act, I believe.
And we have to contact EAI.
Excuse me?
Says the town has to contact directly to the town. EAI for the testing.
What page you on?
First page. First paragraph where it says Task 1 Groundwater Management. This hydrochemical has assumed that EAI will be contacted directly by the town for its services.
I recommend that John be unmuted.
We have John unmuted. His first name again? John what? John Kubicki? Hi, Mr. Kubicki. If I'm pronouncing that right? Hi, John? Hello, John?
I can see he's unmuted, we just can't.
Are you with us yet, John? Hello?
Actually, best if he hangs up and calls back in.
John, could you hang up and then call back in again? Okay. All right, gentlemen, while we're waiting for John to call us back, why don't we move on to old business, Stockbridge Corner Road traffic concerns and discussions. This is what I was referring to earlier. And as you can see, Liz had sent a letter to Scott, town administrator of New Durham, speeding and weight limit trucking concerns from the police chief.
I did speak to Mr. Farrell too, just so that you know.
Okay.
And he was very appreciative that the selectmen are looking into this and the no-through trucking and so on and so forth. He was notified that there would be a discussion at tonight's meeting, but I just don't know if he's able to attend or not. He did not confirm.
Well, I read the 3 letters from the chief, the highway agent, and the letter you sent to Scott. Have you heard back from the town administrator from New Durham yet, or is it too early?
I have not.
Okay. Like I said, I have no problem with it. I have no problem in putting a meeting together and letting folks know this is what we're looking to do. I just hope that if you do this and go forward with it, that the people in these neighborhoods will show up in support of the Board of Selectmen if they go to post these roads versus what happened the last time they had a meeting and it was a lot of the construction companies, gravel companies that showed up, that beat up the selectmen that night saying, how dare they put posted limits on the roads? And I would have to ask Mr. Roberts, because he was at that meeting that night, and nobody from the neighborhood showed up and said anything about the unposting of the roads. Now, a lot of them probably said they never heard of it or never saw it. So if we do this, the word has to get out so these folks from the neighborhoods come in. I mean, I drove tractor trailer. I have a 1 ton. That's all I have. I do have a gooseneck that carries up to 30,000 pounds when I'm hauling hay, gross combined weight limit. I know at times I go in other communities that I have to go to the farm to get the hay. But when there's posted limits, I have to call the head and ask the highway agent if I can go down. Especially like in the wintertime or early spring, I can only get in between 6 in the morning and 7 in the morning, and I have to be out. But I think it's something that we need to look at, and that we should put a future date on this, the meeting, as soon as we hear back from the town of New Durham, because there's no sense in posting Stockbridge Corner Road from the easterly side. We can't get New Durham to post it, at least the corner road of Berry Road and Valley Road. It sounds fine with you, Mr. Holt?
What do we plan on posting? Weight limit or no through trucking?
One, we'd have to start with no through trucking.
No through trucking.
No through trucking.
Oh, okay, and if we do this on roads that are impacted by the GPS, like you mentioned earlier, of shortcuts for trucks, that I can understand. But some roads, really, I'm looking at Powder Mill Road, for example, you know, is that really a shortcut? I guess it is. Well,
Get out there.
yeah, but see,
It's been used quite a bit.
you have a lot of truck traffic on those roads anyways that are going to a site on them roads.
But that wouldn't be
Those aren't through trucking.
no, that wouldn't be through trucking, as long as they have paperwork stating that's where they go.
I've been on that
But
road.
the problem is you have, a lot of people don't realize a lot of those trucks are not through trucking. The ones that are complaining, I think, you know, could be.
That's possible.
I've been on that road.
Let them finish. Let them finish.
Because I have the same thing on East Side Drive, which is the old 28A. A lot of trucks are on that road, but a lot of them go from the bay up to halfway up, or a lot of them go up to Irwin Marine, which is almost to the end. Do you call that through trucking? I don't know. A lot of them are going up to a landfill or a recycling facility.
Right.
But,
And they do.
yeah, I don't know how many are really through trucks going through.
Well, one, that's a state road, which we'd have no jurisdiction on anyways.
Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you, trying to make the point of what is through trucking.
Through trucking, if they started from New Durham, went all the way to the 28 and turned left, that'd be considered true trucking. If Home Depot, Lowe's, or an oil company is making a delivery there, they'd have the paperwork saying delivery. So if an officer stopped and said, did you see the sign through trucking? And they say, yes, I'm just going down to this house to make a delivery, shows the paperwork, it's done. It's clear.
Yeah, but
When you see a logging truck full of logs going down Valley Road, on the Stockbridge Corner Road, and going out to 28, you know there's no mill out there.
well, I got one that's going up Bay Hill Road right now.
Yes,
But it's
they are.
coming right out of the lot, halfway, a quarter.
Well, then there's,
Halfway
but there's a reason for it because it's coming out of the lot.
What I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is the people that are complaining a lot about these trucks may not realize that a lot of them are not through trucking.
Well, Powder Mill Road, I would have to say, they see it coming up from the town line from New Durham, especially if they're on the backside hill there. There's a pit at the end of the road, which makes it more convenient for the trucks to use that road than going all the way down Mirror-Meeting Lake Road, all the way down to downtown New Durham, back out to Route 11. That's the reason they come across Powder Mill Road. Stockbridge Corner Road, they turn on the Valley Road off of Route 11. One, to go by the DOT when they hear they're out there. Two is, it's about, I think it's about 3 mile difference between coming into town and going up the traffic.
Since we redid Old Wolfboro Road and Powder Mill Road, traffic increase is probably 95%. It's nothing to have 1,000 cars come up through there on a Saturday. Trucks, 10-wheelers all week long now. And they're not doing jobs on them roads.
No.
They're loading up and they're going down here, they're going towards Wolfboro. But it's easier to come out that side road, out the state road. And the state owns it all the way up to the fish hatchery. That's all state road out through New Durham.
I'd hate to see us go back to a 6-ton weight limit.
No,
On these roads. No through trucking, I would agree, because then the town has to decide who can go on the road and who can't go on the road.
I don't think we should limit it.
No, I believe there are roads that we should be doing some through trucking, permits or whatever.
You look at the end, you go down to the chute on the old Wolfboro Road, you look at that pavement, it is just like this.
Well,
On both sides, it droops right in on the sides and in the center, it comes right out like this.
But if you stop the through trucking, it might not be as bad as that.
Right.
how much through trucking is there? We don't know.
We don't really know.
Oh,
We'll know until things.
do if you live there.
All right, folks, so what's your pleasure on this? We move
To
on.
follow up on what Bob was saying, both of these roads sound to me like we would have to have a public hearing of the people that live on those roads, because Bob's right, they might not realize that some of those trucks are, servicing people on that road. They just might be looking at trucks in general.
But you're not stopping the servicing on that road. You're stopping the trucks that are hauling from point A out off that road.
Just using the road, period.
Right.
Just going,
Not through, no through trucking would, it's allowed that if they're working on that road, they're allowed there.
Right.
but I agree with Ruben that we have to have public input on this.
Yeah, I think
From the
so.
residents. With
Oh,
that,
absolutely. Absolutely.
to have public input from the people so that they understand, is it through trucking or is it anyone that's actually living on the road that's doing trucking?
And then,
But I think the residents would know that,
when you put
in
up,
my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, no through trucking signs, we've got them right now. Got them on Bay Hill Road, and it's not being enforced. I would like to know when the last time somebody has been ticketed for going down Bay Hill Road. So we can put all the signs up in the world.
We got the 600.
Sometimes it'll appease the people, okay. But it has to be enforced to make it work.
We get the tonnage.
Well, it has to be enforced to make it work, but you can't enforce it if you don't have it posted.
Oh, wait a minute, we got Bay Hill Road.
No, wait, no, let me finish now. I've been stopping Virgil.
Mhm.
Anybody else may interrupt you. It says the chief stated in his letter when it comes to the speeding. The speeding is only as good as it's being enforced.
Right, of
They
course.
can't be out there every day enforcing it because there's other towns, other parts of town being neglected. So by putting this up, if they're caught out there, they can be fined up to $1,000 or through trucking. Are they going to get every single one? No, but it might make some of these trucks think twice about going down that road because that officer might be sitting down that road.
Right.
Word travels fast.
And we're not stopping the servicing of anybody on that road. And what I would suggest, all the citizens out there that have sent us the letters, is to go in the neighborhood, get a petition going of all those residents on that road, there's more than 50 out there, is saying this is what we want, instead of just hearing from 4 or 5 now, I believe it is get a petition going and come in. And if there's any companies out there that think we're picking on them, which I have a company too, but we're not stopping the servicing, is to have them sign a petition saying why it should not be done. And as Mr. Roberts' letter said, if we bailed them to the state standards, we probably wouldn't have some of this problem, but we'd still have the problem of the trucks going through neighborhoods. So at least that's my opinion. I think that's where, as the board should go.
I do know in reference to Bay Hill Road that quite a few companies that make deliveries like Home Depot or Lowe's or some of the larger truck companies and everything, they will call and ask if the road agent to see if they, because there's been lots of times I've seen them trying to get a delivery in there and they see the 6-ton limit sign at the bottom of the hill, they'll make phone calls. I've even received a few phone calls last year about people making a delivery up in there. I said, if you just make a phone call to the road agent and they needed a delivery to their house. And what you're saying is, yes, there are trucks that come down the hill or up the hill that most of the time, I think it's a GPS that's sending them to avoid the traffic circle. And once they're committed down the hill, they can't turn around.
Yeah, but,
They got to come all the way down the bottom. And there's some 18 wheels.
but there's a sign right up at the top.
Yes, there is. It's 6-ton
No
limit.
through truck, or no trucking.
It just says no trucking.
We have roads that are posted in town now.
I mean, if the people pay more attention and see these trucks going down, write down their license plates. Write down, and
Well, it's like-
that helps the law enforcement.
And it's like anything. Some people are going to speed no matter what Oh, yes. They're gonna say, well, the officer isn't there today, I'm gonna do 50 instead of 30. So, all right, gentlemen, so we will plan on this future after we get town hall opened up and running after November, when we can have more than 15 people here, because this night will create more than 15 people.
Ooh, I was gonna say, yeah.
Okay? Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Administrator?
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, sound good. All right, I'm gonna go back to, number 4, Solid Waste Department 2021 landfill compliance service contract, if we could. We have the gentleman on the phone. Good evening, sir.
Hi, I'm sorry I
How are
couldn't unmute before. I'm doing well, and yourself?
Wonderful. So we have your letter here. Selectman McDonald had a question for you on paragraph 1. I'm going to ask Ms. McDonald to ask you that question again.
Yeah, we have to notify EAI to be contacted directly by the town for its services?
Contracted, yes. You in the past, the town has always contracted the analytical laboratory to do the analysis and to collect the samples. And I coordinate with them to make sure, you know, that they're going to collect them during the month of May. And they let me know what week that they're going to come and sample. So they usually come out and collect the samples, and they analyze the samples and then send the invoice directly to the town.
You gentlemen have any other questions for John? John, not that I don't want to call you by the last name, but I don't want to mispronounce it either, insult you.
That's okay.
Basically, you make sure that the DES groundwater permit number and everything is all in compliance. We just contact the group when we want them to do the water sample, and then they stay in contact with you and you with them to make sure everything's being done.
That is correct. I usually, in May, I usually send them something in April to let them know the sample. I give them the parameters and all the information, and then they contact me back and say, we're going to sample during the week of May 15th or something, and say, okay, so then they go out there and collect the samples and stuff, and then I just make sure that they're analyzing for the correct parameters, and then I submit all the information to the state of New Hampshire.
Okay. Gentlemen, anything else for John tonight? Questions? Yes, sir. If not, I'll make a motion to have the town administrator sign on behalf of the town board of selectmen for the contractual fees with Hydro Geochemical Solutions Incorporated.
Second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to have the town administrator sign on behalf of the board of selectmen for the contract for Hydro Geochemical Solutions. Second by Virgil McDonald. Any other discussions? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is affirmative. Thank you, John, for staying with us tonight.
Well, thank you very much, and you have a nice weekend.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
So moving on to selectmen's reports, gentlemen. I'll start with Mr. Holt.
What's that?
Mr. Rochelle?
Nothing new.
Mr. Whitman?
Nope.
Okay, gentlemen, I do have a couple of things. Budget committee will be meeting this week, all right? For some reason, I thought they met the last 2 weeks, and they haven't. But I swear there was a thing in there about an agenda packet. Too many things on my mind. But I do have one for you tonight, and Mr. Roberts, I'm sure he's out there listening at the drive-in tonight. I think it's a drive-in. If he has a screen in his truck, he can see us. So I talked to him 2 weeks ago after our meeting about School Street and also about Church Street. And in the back of your packet, you have a map of Church Street and School Street. Now, this is not the final drawing. This is just a drawing that the engineer submitted to him. And we can sit there and talk about and discuss it tonight, but I think what we need to do is set up a date that we can all meet down at Mr. Roberts' town administrator. for the selectmen. The police chief, I think, should come along too for safety concerns and safety issues. And we walked the street to see how the layout is done down there. And listen to Mr. Roberts' ideas. And as you heard the other night from Mr. Roberts, this road is going to be quite a remake. Water lines have to be done. There's a lot to it. This is why I'm asking for a site visit, and that's the only thing we'll do that night is do a site visit so we have someone there taking notes and taking the information. If anybody from the public wants to join us that night, they're more than welcome to. It's just that we have to provide social distancing when we're out there and meet all the guidelines. And this is why Mr. Roberts is saying this is more than his crew could do, because this has a small time window to get done by the time the end of school's done and by the time school starts. Where a private company come in and focus on those two roads, primarily get them done and get them over with. This would allow their crew to do something else that summer, such as the walkway in the bay, possibly even the parking lot in the bay, because if you notice that parking lot down there, that is deteriorating fast on us. That's another thing that will be coming up, I think, in the future, because that parking lot has not been redone, if I recall, since in the 90s. It's starting to break down. And somebody might say something to me tonight by spending, so why do you want to spend more money in the bay? But we still have to protect that investment in the bay. We also have to protect that water in the bay. So some of those catch basins might not be up to date in the bay, so that would be one thing in our parking lot we'd want to try to fix. So I'd like to know from you gentlemen, what would be a good night for you folks to meet, or afternoon, if you wanted to, that you could all meet, even if it's early afternoon. I know myself, I could do Mondays, we have a meeting every week, but I could do a Monday afternoon at 3. I could do a Tuesday afternoon.
Are we having the engineer with them?
We can request the engineer be there.
What's the purpose of this now?
This purpose is the meeting to hear the ideas, because looking at this, even if you get the final draft from the engineer, some of you might not know the whole road layout here and what it pertains to. Mr. Roberts and myself thought it'd be a good idea for us to go down and look at different ideas proposed. You remember, all the telephone lines go down one side. That is the major line to Gilmanton, New Hampshire from the electric co-op. To move those telephone poles would be quite costly. So it's possible that the sidewalk be put on the other side of the road and you widen the road to where the sidewalks are now, so you wouldn't have to take out all those poles. But this would be better to have Mr. Roberts explain it better to you in detail, and why we walk down the road and why it would be that way. The surveyors have been out there. This is all surveyed, so folks have seen them out there surveying the road, so they know where the right-of-way is. This is also part of a range road. I think Mr. Roberts is on the phone. He could probably back me up here. Part of this is a range road. Range road had a certain width to it. And a range road can never be closed or anything like that. Is Mr. Roberts on the phone? Mr. Roberts?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I'm here.
Sure, you heard me talking, and I hope I haven't talked out of school or out of turn. But I guess This is why I'm trying to see the board, why we should go out and visit the site versus just looking at drawings.
Okay, some of the things I went over with you earlier. One is, this is just a survey. One of the reasons that we do a site visit is to decide what your thoughts are, and we do an RFP for an engineer to actually engineer this out. And I hate to say the push is on, but we'd like to get the engineer on board, a drawing back to the Board of Selectmen, a public hearing, and put it out to bid before school closes next year. So I know it's a big push, but some of the things, as you've seen, there's drainage issues throughout the town, and especially cyanobacteria that goes into Mill Pond. So whether or not a couple of these catch basins could be enlarged from where they are. Is there going to be room enough for sidewalks going all the way to Route 140? Do we make it a one-way? Those are all the big questions that I think the board needs to look at and make a decision. Is this going to be their approach? And as we talked about, the major trunk that comes from Gilmanton, as far as power goes down one side of the road. It probably wouldn't be a good place to put sidewalks that we're building today, which are granite curbing and concrete sidewalks going to the school. So there's just a lot of issues, and decisions should be by the Board of Selectmen of how they would like to see this approach made so we can do the RFP for the engineer, or discuss it with an engineer.
Any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Not at this time.
The only reason I say an early afternoon is because in 2 weeks, we turn the clocks back an hour. It will be getting much darker earlier. So as long as weather's permitting, I would like to see if we could, an early afternoon, say at 3 o'clock. I don't know what you folks.
Monday would be good.
This coming Monday?
3's tight.
I,
Tuesday?
and gotta be the time I don't bring my calendar with me. If you said early November, I could tell you I can make it work.
Well, it's possibly early November. I'll be in, out of state. I have to go close down a business in Missouri. But as it may, one of us might not make it. If it's not me not making it, that's fine. I just want to set up some time here so we can get rolling on this. We got a lot of big things coming up in the next 2 months that we have to work on and get done. This is one of them.
Sooner the better. And I think even if we can't on a Monday, I try to be flexible during the week, at 3 o'clock. You pick a day, I'll be there at 3 o'clock.
Do you want to get a hold of the town administrator tomorrow? Let her know.
Yeah, seems to me Monday, the 26th, besides us having a meeting at night, seems to me I got a doctor's appointment and I don't know what time. I know I took the day off.
Virgil, I know you just said 3 could be tight.
Yeah, but I'll leave, I'll make it down there.
Well, would 4 o'clock work better? She just said in 2 weeks, come 4 o'clock, once we hit 5, it's gonna be getting dark.
Right.
And this is gonna take more than an hour to walk this Sunday.
Yeah, 3 o'clock's better.
3 o'clock
I'll
is
just take off early.
Can you meet on a Saturday?
Yeah, you can meet whenever you want.
And do it on
I
Sunday.
don't wanna do it on
Yeah.
Sunday. I couldn't do it on Sunday because there's only 2 of us at the store.
I could do any Saturday.
You can do any Saturday. Can you do any Saturday?
Any Saturday.
Can you do any Saturday?
Liz, can you do any Saturday?
Mr. Roberts, can you do a Saturday?
Just a reminder that as of 31st, I'm on vacation for 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks, you're good.
Deer season.
All right, gentlemen, I gotta have some idea what you would like to do.
What's this say?
Is this Saturday?
Yeah.
Anyway,
And this Saturday, I do have an appointment at 5 on Saturday.
what if we did it in the morning?
6.
5:30?
4:30?
30.
How about, let's see,
Liz won't be happy about it.
I'm an early bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
how about, 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock Saturday morning.
8 o'clock this coming Saturday? Okay.
Mr. Roberts, 8 o'clock this Saturday, okay?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, can you make it 8 o'clock Saturday?
Yes.
Where are we gonna meet?
We will meet over at the school parking lot where the buses turn in, because there's no school, we could all just start right there,
Is that the one that's right on the street?
right on the street, yes,
8 a.m.
where it says no parking,
Saturday.
Saturday.
no cars.
At school parking lot.
Liz is bringing us all breakfast.
All right, so if you'll publicize that notice for us at the Board of Selectmen meeting, 8 o'clock?
Yep.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, then we will move on from this, my selectmen's report. That is, I believe that is all I have for you. The only thing other I'm gonna mention is the town administrator is, as we talked at the budget meeting last week, we do have to set up, I would like to set up a workshop also to discuss the highway agents, Robert's retiring, and how we're gonna proceed with going out, how we're going to redefine that department, leave it as is with a highway agent, or do we transcend into a, public works director position? And then from there, we look at, because you folks are supposed to look out at other towns and see if you could find some job descriptions of what you're looking at. And so I'd like to have that as a workshop, see which way the board would want to go. And then the time frame of getting it advertised, the closing of the advertisement, the review of the applications, and the proposal of hiring a new highway agent. The other thing we have to look at, the town administrator has to give us some numbers. There will be a buyout figure in April for Mr. Roberts. how that will affect the bottom line of the highway department's salary position for the highway agent, and also is the benefit buyout that is the capital reserve. Every year we put 50,000 into, and it seems like the last 2 years we've used up every 50,000 we put in there. I know Mr. Roberts' years of service here, he will have a considerable buyout. So, and there's a lot of things in that plate that we have to work on in November. I'd like to see us work on. Okay? So next week, if you all can look at your calendar going forward, what would be a good time to set up a special workshop meeting?
Is there one Monday night, a budget meeting Monday night next week?
Yes, there is. We still have
Undone
business, yes.
Okay. But you want a separate?
I would like
Yep.
to have that be totally separate.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that have to be thrown out from that. So that's why I'd like to have them take this week, look at their calendars to see what night during the week would be good to sit down and have.
November.
1st of November, somewhere in that first or second week of November.
When are you leaving?
I do not know yet. It really depends on this COVID thing, because right now Ohio has 13 counties that are red listed. Missouri was one of the only 3 states, United States, that were going down in COVID.
That's where you're headed?
Yeah, I'm headed to Missouri, but they're going down. But the other thing is, I do not want to go to some of these cities I have to drive through come election day.
Oh.
And I have to go to St. Louis. I either got to go through Cleveland, Albany, or Buffalo, or I got to go through Columbus and Harrisburg, Hartford, and different areas. And there's probably some cities I want to try to avoid.
Yeah, you're screwed back. What direction you going in?
I'm hauling a trailer with hay and every straw coming back, so I really.
You got New Hampshire plates.
I'm just looking to see what's going out there. I did hear, though, today, besides the celebrity saying that Mr. Trump wins, they would leave the country. Mr. Trump even said if Biden wins, he'll leave the country.
I did hear that.
Well, I've heard it from both sides now, so I'm really stuck in the middle who to vote for.
Win-win.
I don't know if I want to get rid of celebrities or the other way, you know? Shame on me. All right, gentlemen, that's all I have. I'm going to turn over to the town administrator for her report.
Okay, I have 2 quick things for open session, and I do have a couple of things for non-public. But in open session, the first item is, you should have at your seat, a document from Health Trust. And it's just notification to us that we'll be receiving a surplus next month. Second page is the total amount of the surplus, which is $33,231.72. And that's for a surplus of medical, dental, and short-term disability. Do you not have yours? Bill, do you want, I can give you mine if you want it.
Yeah, I can't see that.
I don't even remember seeing this at my desk, to be honest with you.
Up the bill and then give us a check back.
Mary put one at everybody's seat today.
Oh, is this the health trust thing?
Yep.
I got it.
Okay,
Sorry. My bad.
so that's just informational for you. That'll be placed into the general fund. Thank you. And this happens every so often.
What was the percentage rate that they jumped us?
30%.
30%?
28%.
I was rounded up just 2 more to 30.
But that's a separate issue.
So I guess my question here to you, Liz, is there an ability, because the health insurance, like I said, 30% this year, and I believe also New Hampshire retirement system is going to make the town of Walton pay more into the retirement system this year for their employees. I think that me and Laura were talking about it, she got notice of that. I think that's quite a substantial increase for us. So is there an RSA, can you check with the town attorney or DRA? Can we set aside a health trust account that when we get surpluses like this, the Board of Selectmen can vote to have that money go in the health trust account so it can offset the rates for the following year? I mean, this money has already been expended for the health insurance.
Yeah.
We're getting a surplus back this year because the need was not there, so there was extra money to be distributed to its members. But if we could take this money, and I know you could say, well, just put it in the general fund and go towards next year's taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can actually say we have a health trust account for any surpluses, so when we have a big increase like this for 30% coming up, that would help offset it.
You throw it, yeah, okay, now.
I will look into that. I
Probably
don't,
say no.
I I'm not too optimistic on it, because there is one method already in place that you mentioned, general fund to fund balance to lower the taxes.
I understand that. But it's just that we're gonna be asking the employees, I think the recommendation coming from Laura, that we talked about last week, there's gonna be a recommendation coming back that the employees gonna be asked to pay more. So we can say, we're trying to do our due diligence, but they also have to help us, the taxpayers, considering to what's in the real world out there right now. And nobody knows which way health insurance is going. You notice tonight there are several hospitals that are filing for Chapter 11. Lake Region General Hospital is one of them. They're filing for Chapter 11. They will still continue to operate. They do have an offer. There'll be more hospitals coming this way, so that means health insurance is going up. Costs are going up. So I would just like to see.
Sure. And just, so you know, the 28% increase in the premium was due to claims insurance usage in our pool. And we are in our own pool. We are not in a pool shared with other municipalities.
So, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. So that was one item. The next item is, you have another document. This one might be in your binder or at your seat. So in a meeting that was held about a week ago with myself, Attorney Sessler, the assessor, code enforcement, in regards to the request of the BOS to have us look at the warrant article for the Shibleys on the Pier lease renewal. It was recommended by the town attorney, everyone was in agreement, that in order to memorialize the gray areas that will now be clear, a plot plan needs to be done by a professional person who does plot plans. And so this company out of Laconia comes highly recommended from the town attorney. He knows this company. He has spoken to the owner already, who would be willing to do it. I've got to put.
Who has, Mr. Shibley?
No, Attorney Sessler has spoken to him. This man, his name is Mark. I have difficulty with his last name. It's very lengthy. Contra Damakia or something like that. I'm sorry if I, made a mess of that. And we're playing telephone tag right now, but we all agreed, including David Shibley, because I did speak with David.
You did speak with him.
That the cost would be paid for by David Shibley, because this pertains to his structures there that he owns and the 10-foot curtilage around it. So I just wanted to run it by you to make sure that you're okay with a plot plan being done and the recommendation of the town attorney with this company.
So basically what you're doing is you're asking for a plot plan of Shibley's by the pier, basically to outline the plot, and that would become a record of legality at that point.
To get rid of any gray area.
Yes.
Get rid of any gray area.
To clarify it.
Yep.
So the cost will be borne by the Shibleys.
Yes.
The 10-foot curvilege that we sat here with Jim, it's on some of the prints and not on them, and Jim said that he doesn't have the 10-foot curvilege. That's why we gave him the dock.
No, that
That's
had
not
nothing to do with.
No, there is a 10-foot curtilage around everything that is owned by the.
We own the dock.
No.
No.
Then you pass your 10 feet.
So.
That's what we thought before, Virgil. It's not the case.
So the curtilage would go around the outside edge of the dock and up the banking and so on, around the storage area and so on and so forth.
Curtilage was in place for maintenance, being able to work on the building, being able to get in and out of the basement, the stairway, and so that was why that was created.
And the curtilage cut across that dock 10 feet out from the edge of the main structure, and it shouldn't have. It should have gone around the dock to include it.
Why?
Because he
Set
owned.
up that way that it was only 10 feet of the dock, so the town could still use that dock.
That's
But
not
that
the way
was-
the town attorney interpreted that. the
That
way
was
it
when
written.
everyone, including myself, thought that the town owned the dock, but the
Jim
town.
helped set that up in the beginning, and we we're gonna keep that dock for the townspeople,
Well,
and he doesn't remember that.
No, that was the whole reason why we looked into it in the first place and asked Mr. Shibley, Liz Dion, myself, and, Mr. Sessler. When we looked at it, 'cause at the time, back at that time, it was unclear as to who owned the docks.
And there was enough,
Curvilege was drawn right around the building and right down across the dock, so they had
right.
use of the doorway and the
Yes.
stairs going up, not
Yes.
the dock.
But there was enough evidence that we believed that
The assessment.
the town owned it. But there's more evidence that came to light, as you know from a previous meeting, that the town does not own the dock. The Shibleys own the dock, and so that curtilage line needs to be changed to go around that dock to include the dock.
Jim said they had all the way to the boatway.
Yep.
Sat right here at the meeting, he said.
Yep.
You said he had all the way to what?
The boat ramp.
Yep.
Yes,
You know that,
yes,
Doc?
that's correct.
And that's not right.
That's
is
correct.
not
That
right.
is what he said. He
That
said
is
that
not
he
what
went
that is not how we set up that lease.
All right, so the main thing is, but gentlemen, the main thing is we're moving on.
No.
Gentlemen, main thing is we are moving on to a new lease. We've already decided that at a previous meeting. We have to have everything detailed. Our assessing department cannot seem to get it detailed over the years. I'm not saying one assessing department, but over the years, our town assessing department has been a mess because I went through that personally with a business I bought next to my other business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is one way of getting it done. Mr.
Clean it
Shibley
up.
is paying for it. The Shibleys will be paying for it. So this will become a part of the deed along with the record within the assessing department. And we will make sure, like I said at a meeting, put this in with my assessing card and do not lose it again.
It will memorialize everything, make it, we need to do this.
I think you need to get the
Put it to
films.
rest.
Yeah.
I think you need to get the films from the delivery session that I and stuff on this and made the 10-foot curvilege around that building. Because it doesn't go to the boat ramp.
I know that. And the assessing records showed that. But things have changed since then.
The lease don't change. When it was originally set up, nobody's changed that lease.
I know, and that's why we're changing it now based on the meetings that we had all this past year after the warrant article failed
But if you
to correct a wrong.
go back to the delivery session, there was a big
What year?
argument on about that dock and stuff. But
What-
that's why
what
the
year?
10-foot curvilege was around.
Last year.
Oh, that was, Christ, 25 years ago.
Oh, I thought you were talking about last year.
But that lease has been rewritten now twice in that 25 years, Virgil.
Oh, it's been re-upped, not rewritten, re-upped.
I'm gonna say re-up, but I'm gonna say rewritten too.
So I want, it's just a
Privilege
general.
line is the only thing we did to change that lease was gave him
One at a time.
expansion on the cooler. We changed that because he needed a little bit more room to put the cooler in.
Correct.
That's what we changed. That's the only thing we.
Without having that exact here, if you wanna go back and investigate it and find that exactly, I think you're gonna find out a couple of things have changed over the 25 years of that lease.
And the other thing was the latest assessment that was done. Not the assessment, but with the town assessor went out there and measured the exact distance across the front, exactly how many spaces the town owns for docks, and how many spaces there are. Remember the whole thing, and checked and measured everything footage-wise, and what he was being taxed on.
So this is just to clean things up. Let's move forward, get this taken care of for the warrant article for the lease. I just need a general consensus that you're okay with this, moving forward. with
Well, I have no problem with moving forward, and that we accept it, we'll have to vote to accept the plot plan or not, correct?
I don't know. I'll ask Jim.
Well, it's our property, so we'll have to vote to accept it.
Oh, yeah.
Measuring all the.
They're gonna go out and measure, the Shibleys are paying for all this. Before it become a record, I would think, or a permanent record, the selectmen have to vote on to it, agree with it.
You have to agree with it in order for a warrant article to move forward.
With the new lease.
Right.
I would say, go ahead, and I don't think I need to vote on this, we can just have a consensus, because there's no
Yeah.
taxpayer money involved.
That's right.
Virgil?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Holt?
Yes.
Wentworth, yes. Vote is,
Can't vote twice.
I just did.
Please, Democrat?
Okay, Madam Administrator, anything else?
No.
Quick one, yes.
Okay, gentlemen, moving on to approval of minutes, October 5th, 2020, regular meeting minutes.
Chairman, I move we approve the minutes as written for October 5th.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Holt to approve the minutes of October 5th as presented, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? At this point, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is an affirmative. Moving on to the non-public session of October 5th, 2020.
Move to accept the minutes from October 5th non-public session as written.
Second?
Okay. The only thing is, I just want to get up that page because I thought I made a note.
They've already been sealed.
Yeah, keep them sealed. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
I add that to my motion, and he adds it to his second.
Yes.
Made a motion to approve the October 5th, 2020 non-public session and to keep all information as voted on, not to divulge. Second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is an affirmative. Next item is on the consent agenda, which you have before you, in front of you.
Yep. Sorry.
Did you think I was jumping over something? Okay, grasshopper. One is for the fire department and one is for the highway department.
Consent?
Consent agenda, yes. Certification change in one of the firefighters and also highway department having someone come in temporarily part-time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question on the second one.
Okay.
So the full-time secretary is getting done to start a new job, but wants to come back full-time to a temporary part-time position from $16.37 an hour to $20 an hour.
No,
Am I reading that wrong then?
yeah. So, her last day, I think, is at the end of this week.
Okay,
And until a new secretary is hired, she's willing to go in there for a few hours on each Saturday to check the computer, check, things. And also when someone is hired, she's willing to spend a couple of hours with that person here and there to get that person transitioned in.
but the way I read this letter, if I approve this, we're approving $20 an hour
Yes,
That's what she's asking.
for
Yeah.
part-time help.
That'd be just part-time.
But part-time while she's here helping orientate
Yeah.
that person.
Get her out.
Why wouldn't the position just pay the hourly pay, is what I would say, not.
well, maybe the highway manager is still,
Mr. Roberts, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
The question has been asked. I don't know. The question has been asked, I'm sorry there's a delay there, only because we heard background voices.
Okay.
The question we have is, if we're paying someone full-time right now at $16.37, why would we have them come back in for $20 and $20 an hour as a part-time position for just a couple hours on Saturday? So that is the question that's being posed. Maybe you can help clarify that or defend it.
Well, I could say nights or weekends would be overtime, so she'd make a lot more than $20 an hour. The other thing is that she volunteered her time to come in and help do the interviews here at the office, which I have 2 tomorrow night. And then only if the person has issues with a computer, that she'd spend a couple hours with them on Saturdays here and there, just to keep them all in one piece. You know, it's not 20 hours a week. It's not 10 hours a night. We'd be lucky if we do 20 hours total out of this whole thing. For somebody that has that knowledge, rather than starting somebody cold, to learn everything there is here, for her to explain it to them would be great. And she's already started her other job. She started this morning.
So the question I had for you, when this individual came on board with you at the highway department, did your last one stay and help you?
No, the last one was removed from office.
Okay, so anyways, so when this individual took that position, Noosh, it must have caught on pretty quick and came right up to speed, is that correct?
I couldn't say it was quick, but it took some time because there was a lot of issues to straighten out.
Okay.
And, there's a lot to learn here. I mean, she's the one that just left, Carrie. I mean, I'm sorry to use her name. I shouldn't use her name. The secretary that just left did FEMA for Ryan, which we've never done FEMA here before. I mean, she was a very quick learner. She had a good background. I have no idea what the next one secretary that may be coming to the highway department would be. And for someone to show her the entire ropes is a benefit to us. So someone doesn't start from scratch and try to learn things as they fumble along, lack of a better term. It's like you wanting me to teach the person that's replacing me.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, anything else for Mr. Roberts? You have any concerns on that? Okay, Mr. Roberts, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, so you have the consent agenda above you, in front of you. You have 2 items on it.
Mr. Chairman,
How say you? Mr. Holt?
I was gonna make a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
I move we accept the consent agenda, item number 1 and number 2.
I second.
Motion been made by Mr. Holt to approve the consent agenda number 1 and number 2 is presented October 19th, 2020, second by Paul Rochelle. Any discussion? Poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Discretionary action for appointments. John Elderly, Jr., plowing parking area behind 138 Main Street. In back of your...
Yep.
Out of there.
I was gonna ask the chairman if I could speak to that. Virgil's correct, we've never plowed it, but he's asked to appear before the board. I made a recommendation to approve, give him 5 minutes for the board to do, hear him out.
The park's closed, right?
No.
No, it's the trail that goes.
The trail that we,
They close in the winter, don't they?
I would think so. I mean, they don't plow it or anything like that.
It was plowed.
The night we have this meeting, if you gentlemen recommend, I would request that you have the highway agent also on the phone that night.
Yes.
So,
Could I make a comment?
yes, sir.
I know he's requested a meeting before the board. A lot of times, in my past experience, is the town administrator or the town manager sometimes will get in contact with the person and basically tell them what the skippy is. And if he still wants to have the, no problem.
Well, I think this was, a letter was sent in to the highway agent and the town administrator on this, and the response is giving, and we also got pictures, I think, of it.
We've been put on notice that he is intending to sue us. So, I don't think there's anything that I could say to him that would change his mind. He must know that the town has never plowed it, because the town has never plowed it. I just, he's requesting to speak before the board. I think you should just hear him out, thank him for his time, and, when somebody,
I got no problem with that.
yep.
let's hear them out.
Well, the only question is, if someone has already threatened a lawsuit against the town of Walton, I have a hard time wanting to meet with them, if that's their first recourse. If you would have sent this in to me first and wanted the meeting, I would have talked to him. Then if he left the meeting, wanted to sue us, that'd be one thing. But if he's already told you that he's thinking about suing the town of Walton over this, I do not want to meet with him.
Has he
And
said that?
deny it, just
Because
deny
my
it.
only thing is,
Yeah.
if he gets us to say something he shouldn't say,
He put it in writing. There was
He did do it, right?
yes, it was either in your reading file, or you each received a copy of it, or
So we
whatever.
can talk to him without counsel.
If he's threatening that way, if he has it in writing and it wasn't just verbal, then yeah.
Well, this says nothing about a lawsuit on it.
but his
Right,
letter in the
right.
office did.
Oh,
It was it was when the work was being done.
2 months, 3
That
months.
should have been on this, with this then, okay.
This was also mailed and certified.
I'd like to have this put into our next selectmen's meeting, this letter again. I will not respond to it tonight. I'd like to have it brought up in 2 weeks along with the letter that he sent to you 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. All right, gentlemen?
That's a good idea.
Table this at this point. Sounds good. I don't mind usually talking to a taxpayer, but if they're already threatening to have lawsuit, I'm sorry. Better ways to communicate before you throw
Oh,
out.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And just let Mr. Elodie know, send a letter to him that we'll be reviewing again in 2 weeks, his request. So tonight, gentlemen, we have a non-public session. Need a motion, gentlemen, to go into non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, C and E.
Second.
Please return this document to Liz. Oh, that's supposed to be that. Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to go into non-public session, second by Virgil McDonald. Any discussion? I'll poll the board then. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is affirmative. Folks, we are in non-public session at 7:40 PM. And we will reconvene in public session shortly thereafter.
Who made that motion?
Ruben made it, I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Now the motion to not to.
We are at 7:56, open to the public. Are we all set?
Yeah.
All right, motion not to divulge the non-public session minutes. Under A, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board.
Second.
Motion second by President McDonald. Any discussion? Poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Both in the affirmative. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion. There's nothing else tonight at 7:57 to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to adjourn at 7:57, second by Phil Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. Wentworth, yes. Affirmative. We are now adjourned. Same time, same place next week, folks, for a budget work session.